Yo, what's going on, fam? We are in Florida on vacation, and man, I love being in Florida, bro. Born and raised in Jacksonville, it's just my city. I just feel like with the beaches and the vibes, I feel like the air is different. I don't know what it is, man. I like Georgia, but I love being in Florida. But sitting here, man, I talked to one of my guys that I onboarded, and in the past, he had mentioned before he wanted to lose weight and gain muscle, become more disciplined, be a better leader for his family, he would always try to start the process, but he always end up stopping it. Like it was a start, stop process. And for me, I had a similar problem whenever I was trying to put this whole thing together. And the truth is, whenever most men try to take this journey, they make two mistakes, because it's the same two mistakes I made. One, they set a whole bunch of goals and they have no way to get there. They just try to wing it, thinking that the motivational quote or the being excited about the whole thing will last them. But in that aspect, motivation is fleeting, right? It's here and it's not. It's here and it's not. So having goals with no plan to get there or having no structure, it's a dead end. It's not going to get you anywhere. You might make some progress, but you'll go right back to square one, right? When life hits or when adversity hits, because there is no structure, the results won't last. And then number two, they set outcome-based goals instead of trying to become a different person, right? So as we are trying to achieve more, we have to become a completely different person, because the person that we are currently is what got us here in the first place, right? So we have to become somebody completely different. That's why I say it's bigger than just working out or just eating right. You're becoming somebody different who's worthy or capable of receiving more. And I realized that the most when I just got done playing football at Georgia Tech. And when I played ball at Georgia Tech, I was in the best shape of my life, right? Best shape of my life. I had coaches yelling at me to wake up at 6 a.m., to go run my lungs out, right? To lift 3 hours a day, to go to class where I'm walking 12,000 steps all across campus, right? And then you had nutritionists, giving you food, and you eating all kind of stuff, bro. You had protein shakes by the case that they gave you. I never really had that structure, that discipline by myself. It was just given to me. It was provided, because that's what they do. They invest in you in terms of giving you a scholarship. So they make sure you do all of those things. So when I got done playing ball, because I didn't have that stuff established for myself, I didn't have that identity established for myself, I started doing whatever. I started eating whatever I wanted to. I would work out occasionally whenever I wanted to. Nobody was making me do that stuff. So I completely let myself go. And eventually, because my habits were trash, I went from being a D1 athlete to working a job that I hated. Working a job that I completely hated, bro. I was cleaning up trash. I was unclogging toilets. I had to clean the dog poop out of the dog pots and put them in the back of this truck. And I had to throw all of that stuff away at the end of the night. And I was doing that day by day. And I remember one day after work, looking in the mirror, and I hated everything about myself, bro. I hated my mindset. I hated my job, what I was doing. I hated it. I hated the way I looked. I had health conditions. And I thought about how I got to that point. I thought about how I got from being an athlete that was in the best shape of his life to getting to that point. And I heard somebody call it death by 1,000 paper cuts. And all that means is, like, if you get one paper cut, it's not the end of the world. But if you get thousands of paper cuts, eventually you'll bleed out, and it is the end of the world. And for me, that's exactly what happened. I went from having that structured system to becoming a person that was just doing whatever. Like, I would eat whatever, I would work out whatever, and every single day I kept choosing to do that. I was going further and further into that hole until I looked up. I didn't even recognize myself. I didn't know who I was, and I hated it. But I knew I had to do something about it. And I would let the days go by and tell myself I would start tomorrow. I would do it the next day, or, I would eventually start it. But I never did. And it wasn't until I got in a car accident that I realized that life is temporary. Life is temporary, and I don't have the time to just start this whole process whenever. I had to take initiative, right? So when that whole thing happened, I knew that I had to make it happen. So I went through trial and error of trying everything to find out what works. Like for me, I used to like listening to C.T. Fletcher. I like listening to Ray Lewis, and those videos and those quotes, bro, would last me for like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks max. I would go right back to what I was used to. So I would make some progress, but the progress never lasted. Like I was in this start, stop process, right? And then eventually I would have a plan. Through trial and error, I found out what worked. I would have a plan, and I would eventually hit those goals. But because I didn't become somebody different, whenever I hit those goals, eventually I would just fall back and sink back to what I was used to. And I would achieve the goals and fall back to what I was used to in terms of, losing fat and building some muscle. Like nothing was concrete. Nothing helped me keep the progress and keep progressing and keep sustaining everything, right? But it wasn't until I shifted my identity that I made progress, and I never looked back. So first, I had to determine who I wanted to be in terms of my identity. I wanted to be a person that could scale a business and quit his job, right? So I had to ask myself, was I doing the things day in and day out to make that happen? I wanted to be a person that had a physique so crazy that I could win the bodybuilding show. So I had to ask myself day in and day out, was I doing the things that would make that whole thing happen, right? So for me, that's what made me develop a morning routine. And in my morning routine, I would have things that identified or aligned with me becoming the highest version of myself. And every single day I chose to do my routine, I chose to become that person until eventually I was that person. I'm at the point now where, by the grace of God, I don't have to work a job. I scaled my business to where I can just be a dad and I can help other men elevate themselves, right? I won my first bodybuilding show, and I plan to go pro later on this year or later on next year, right? I'm at the point now where I've made so much progress and I continue to keep progressing. I will never look back because I've built a system that's based on identity-based outcome instead of just goals. So more than anything, when you are taking this journey or when you are making this whole thing happen, first determine who you want to be. Do you want to be the man that demands respect? Do you want to be the disciplined man? Do you want to be the man who, serves his family? Who do you want to be? And then make sure that your habits align with that person. And one thing that has helped me, that's a quick trick, whenever I'm faced with an obstacle, whenever I'm faced with choosing comfort or choosing discipline, with the highest version of myself, make this decision. And the reason why it's so important to establish a routine and to build those habits consistently is because whenever you make a statement as a man, your brain looks for evidence. And in Atomic Habits, it talks about that whole thing. Your brain looks for evidence to support that claim. So if you tell yourself like, all right, I'm a disciplined person, right? And your brain looks for the evidence of being a disciplined person, and it goes to think about all the times you failed, all the times you broke promises to yourself, all the times you chose comfort over discipline. All of those claims support not being a disciplined person. So you can't have conviction behind being somebody that's disciplined. But the best way to turn that whole thing around is by building a routine, and no matter what, sticking to that routine no matter how you feel. When I had to work myself out of that job by the grace of God, but I had to work myself from getting out of that job to getting in the position that I am now, I had to choose to do my routine every single day. I would wake up at 6 a.m. every single day. And the people that have been following me on Instagram, they know I did it every single day until I built so much trust in myself and in doing the things that I say I would do, that my identity shifted and my reality changed because of consistency. So before anything, I'm telling you, find out who you want to become, right? Build a routine that you stick to regardless of how you feel. Make sure those habits align with that identity shift that you're making, and you will make progress, and you will continue to make progress. But I'm at the point now where, because I've been so consistent, the routine is just what I do. It's just the norm. It's just what I'm used to, right? It's the same thing you do with waking up and brushing your teeth. You don't think about putting the toothpaste on the toothbrush and then, putting it under the water and then brushing your teeth and brushing your tongue. You've done that so many times. That's your identity. That's just who you are. That's what you do. It's the same thing with your morning routine, and it's the same thing with making lasting progress. And that's what I coach my clients through. We determine who they want to be, right? We determine who they want to be. We establish the routine, and we check in with each other with the routine to make sure that we're consistently doing it until that becomes that person's identity. That's where they see true progress, and that's where they see true change that lasts, right? Anything outside of that is BS. It won't last you. Make the identity shift, and you'll see the change that you want.